Welcome to this special edition of Go Vote Omaha, presented by the League of Women Voters of Greater Omaha. This is a candidate forum for Legislative District 39 of the unicameral. I'm Jerry Simon, League member and your moderator for the forum. The League never supports or endorses political parties or candidates. We present this forum solely for voter education. The format is as follows. Each candidate will get a 1-minute opening statement, followed by questions prepared by the League. Each candidate will answer every question and will have up to 90 seconds to do so. Following the questions, each candidate will have a 1-minute closing statement. We'll alternate the speaking order throughout the forum. A timekeeper will signal the candidates when they have 30 seconds of time remaining and when to stop speaking. Before the forum, the candidates drew lots to determine the initial speaking order. I'll introduce them now in that order. There are 3 candidates running in the primary election for Legislative District 39. 2 of them will advance to the general election in November. The candidates are Bill Armbrust, Linehan, and Pat Borchers. And now we'll begin with opening statements, starting with Bill Armbrust.
Thank you. I feel that I embody the district, and the district reflects the value that my friends and I carried as we helped to create the environment that attracts thousands of people to move to this district, including the other 2 candidates. I was born here, raised my kids in a house that my great-grandfather built 150 years ago. I went to a country school, graduated from Elkhorn High, received my BS, my Bachelor of Science degree from UNL, and I chose to return back to the farm to raise my family. This district is where my parents grew up, my sisters live, and I raised family and their family as well. And currently, I have grandkids going to school in this school district. I've spent the last 40 years learning and understanding the complex nature of the local and state governments. I've learned the importance of local voice and local control, and I understand the balance that must be struck between the needs of our citizens, the burdens of taxation, and the effort to assure spending and the necessity rather than spending on necessity rather than on niceties. I'm confident that the vast majority of this district feels, as I do, that a native son is the most capable of taking the work ethic and values that we share to the legislature.
Thank you. Linehan.
Hi. I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters for hosting this forum. I appreciate it for the voters in District 39 and for all of Nebraskans. I am a 5th-generation Nebraskan whose great-great-grandmother, moved to Nebraska before the Civil War and homesteaded near Crab Orchard, Nebraska shortly after the war. My cousin still farms that farm. I met my husband at the University of Nebraska in Lincoln, and we were married in 1980 and moved to Omaha. We have 4 children and 4 grandchildren. The 4 grandchildren are here in Omaha. I'm running for the legislature because I think our tax burden, both income taxes and property taxes, are too high. Every weekend when I go door to door, I run into at least 2 or 3 couples who are moving from Nebraska to states where their tax burden will be less. We can't afford to lose Nebraskans because of our tax burden. If I'm elected to the Nebraska legislature, I will fight tirelessly to reduce spending and to keep taxes under control. Thank you.
Thank you. And Pat Borchers, your opening statement.
Well, I too would like to thank the League. In fact, my mother was a member of the League of Women Voters and ran for city council back when and lost by 3 votes. So I know how it can go the right way or it can go the wrong way. I'm a Nebraskan by choice. I was recruited out to become Dean of Creighton Law School in 1999. It's the longest I've ever lived any place. I've been a resident of the district 17 years. My wife's Judy of 30 years and our 5 children are all in the area with 2 grandchildren. I'm running. My inspiration for running was becoming a grandparent because I realized that we have an obligation to pass down to future generations the values that we treasure. If you talk to voters, as I have thousands of them, taxes are killing us. We are taxing our young people out of the state. We are taxing our old people and retirees out of the state. I would like to put a stop to that and represent Nebraska well.
Thank you. Now we'll go to our first question, and we'll start with Linehan. The question is, do you support Medicaid expansion in Nebraska? Please explain your position.
I do not support Medicaid expansion in Nebraska. As we've already, all of us spoke to in our opening statements, taxes are too high in Nebraska. You can't spend money when you don't have money. When I go door to door, people, again, are talking about moving to Texas or Florida or South Carolina or Wyoming or South Dakota, all states that don't tax income. And we all know that property taxes are a huge burden on taxpayers in Nebraska. So I don't know how we can even talk about expanding spending more money when every Nebraskan I've talked to, with maybe one exception, think our taxes are already too high. I don't know where we would get the money.
Thank you. Pat Borchers, your answer?
Well, I too oppose the expansion of Medicaid, and I realize that the intentions of doing it are good, but it is the product of a fatally flawed federal system. When the federal government attempts to get between you and your doctor, the results are disastrous. Medicaid expansion would be a further expansion of the Affordable Care Act, commonly known as Obamacare. It presents an enormous challenge. Anybody who thinks that the federal government is going to keep to its promise of funding over 90% of the bill, I would like to sell the Brooklyn Bridge to them, because the current split in Nebraska is about 52-48. We cannot afford it. Medicaid was never intended to be what it's come to be. It originally was for children and disabled adults. To try to extend it to able-bodied working adults is, in my view, a serious mistake, one that Nebraska can't afford. Already, HHS accounts for 1/3 of the state's budget. I agree with Mrs. Linehan. I have no idea where we would get the money.
Okay, thank you. And Bill Armbrust.
Well, I feel that the Medicaid expansion is something that's important to us, and it's reckless for us not to consider it. The current bill that's being considered, the McCollister bill, takes into account a lot of the problems that have been voiced over the last year. And I'd like to also add that how do we pay for this? We're already paying for it. We're paying for this gap in coverage through the ACA. We're covering this currently by the cost to Douglas County in property taxes. They cover part of the cost. We're also covering it in our insurance because the hospitals are passing on the cost of insurance to us in our insurance premiums. And also we're paying for it in the cutting of staffs at hospitals and health centers all over, and even the ending of services, because there's such a gap right now in their budgets because they have to cover the cost of these folks that are working poor that can't afford to have insurance, and they come into emergency rooms. They take care of themselves in ways that are other than preventive care, and this is a problem that we as a community need to respond to and take care of. So I'm in favor of McCollister's bill that's currently being debated.
Thank you. Now we'll have our second question, and we'll start with Pat Borchers on this one. Nebraska needs better mental health services both in prisons and in communities. What should be done?
Well, I think there are a variety of approaches that can be done. It is certainly true that mental health is a huge issue in the state. We've been very successful with drug courts in terms of keeping people out of the correctional system. I think it would be time to explore the possibility of mental health courts where we could get services to people without incurring the costs of incarceration, which are enormous. So the degree to which we can get people back into the workforce, whether it's through a drug court-like activity or whether it's through some other program, I believe that would be money well spent. But again, I'm not willing. We already have, according to WalletHub.com, the second highest in the nation overall state and local tax burden in Nebraska. We trail only President Obama's state of Illinois. We simply can't afford to spend more money, but we've got to be smarter about the way we spend the money that we have.
Thank you. Bill Armbrust?
I think that there's a culture shift that's happened that's taken away a lot of the duties and the jobs that prevent problems like this from the churches and the faith-based ministries. And what we've ended up with is a situation where the government has had to step in to provide solutions to these problems, and there's huge gaps all over in the government taking these spots and these situations and dealing with them. As far as the problems that we have in our prisons and the health issues that go into it, yes, indeed. A lot of the costs that Pat was talking about that are justified for taxes are indeed paid anyway in the extra cost of dealing with the results of folks not having the issues with mental health dealt with earlier on. And prison, we have a tremendous need right now to rehabilitate prisoners, to look at why these folks are going to prison and dealing with some of the social issues that are drawing folks into that lifestyle that goes into them ending up incarcerated.
Thank you. Ms. Linehan.
I have great empathy for families that face problems with children, adults, parents, aunts, uncles with mental health issues. It is an issue that Nebraska has not done well. We need to do a better job. I would like to commend Rhonda Hawks and Ken Stinson and Mike McCarthy, who through their efforts have opened Lasting Hope, which is a great improvement over what we had before. I spoke with this Sheriff Dunning about this very issue. There's some small changes that we can make, to Patrick's point about doing some things better. Instead of sending a police cruiser out to pick up somebody who's having a episode, you could send an ambulance and treat it like what it is, a health issue, not a criminal issue. I would support their efforts and try to work with them because I think they've studied it. They have, I can't remember the study that they had about mental health issues and what was available here in Omaha, but I know they have a whole committee that's already working together, and I would reach out to them to see what they think where the state can step in. I do think that some of the monies we spend probably aren't spent as well as they should be. And I can't remember the exact number, I think Bill might have mentioned it, up to 60% of our people who are incarcerated for crimes have mental health issues, and if we don't help them while they're in prison, then they're much more likely to be put back in prison. So I think we can do a better job with mental health issues, and we need to.
Thank you. Okay, we'll go to our third question, and we'll start with Mr. Armbrust on this one. It's often said that Nebraska's property taxes are high compared to other states. What's the right mix of taxes for the state, and what other revenue sources should be considered?
Absolutely, we have a problem in the state of Nebraska with property taxes. Being a farmer, I'm extra sensitive to the problems that farmers are having right now, or landowners are having with the tremendous burden on property taxes on their farmland, which in effect ends up being almost like a 50% income tax on their acres that they're trying to make a living on. Property tax issues also go into folks who are in retirement and expected to be able to retire in their home and find themselves being taxed out of their home. In the state of Nebraska, we've spent many, many years working on keeping income taxes and sales taxes into some sort of an area that would be acceptable to attracting businesses and such into the state, and I understand that completely, but we've pushed so many of the costs of actually running the state into property taxes, which is a very hidden way of increasing taxes. And so the burden has ended up being strongly into property taxes, and we do need to deal with it. And to me, when you talk about 57% of property taxes going into the schools, a lot of that issue comes into needing to put more of the sales tax and income tax into this, and perhaps bring it more into line with other states around us. And there are other taxes that we can come up with, similar to the tax on perhaps renewable energies. Renewable energies is an area where a tax would be directly put into the schools in the area.
Thank you. Ms. Linehan.
Both property taxes and income taxes are too high in Nebraska. I remember, as some of the viewers will remember, in 1990 when we passed, I believe it was LB 889, to increase income taxes and sales taxes so we would reduce our property taxes. So currently that money was supposed to go to schools to offset property taxes. So I think currently the state school aid for K through 12th grade is $950 million. So that aid goes to the schools, and yet property taxes have increased dramatically over the same period, last 25 years. So I don't think shifting expenditures from property taxes to income taxes will get us any farther ahead. We need to cut spending. I know that the schools in Elkhorn and in Douglas County West and Miller do a great job. I'm very proud of those schools. I've met with all the superintendents, and I think they are fiscally responsible and they do a good job with their students. I think we should hold all schools accountable for the money they're spending. And I think also, just in case we don't get back to this subject, the school aid formula that Nebraskans, the $950 million that go to schools, needs to be clear to how that's been. The joke in Lincoln is that only 3 people in the state of Nebraska knows how it really works. That's not okay. If we're going to spend $950 million, almost $1 billion, the people in Nebraska need to understand how that money is spent. Thank you.
Mr. Borchers.
Well, thank you. As chair of our neighborhood's SID, I've actually worked with my neighbors to cut our levy from 88 cents to 67, so I know something about cutting property taxes. As Vice President for Academic Affairs at Creighton, I oversaw a budget of $100 million, so I know what it means to keep track of money very carefully. I agree with Mrs. Linehan that I believe that the school districts in our area are very well administered. In case we don't get back to this subject, I think one thing that needs to stop is the common levy and the learning community and the shifting around of tax burdens out of our district to fund other school districts. The school funding formula is broken, and we need to start admitting it. And until we admit that and we have a rational school funding program, we are never going to be able to successfully reduce our property tax burden. I also liked what Mr. Armbrust had to say about hidden taxes. One of the problems with trying to shift money into other taxes, such as consumption taxes, is unfortunately those cannot be written off against your federal return. So we really are going to need to control spending if we're ever going to control the revenue side.
Thank you. We'll go to our next question, and we'll start with Ms. Linehan. How would you handle the job of reforming the Nebraska prison system, and should privatization be considered?
I think, first I would like to commend Governor Ricketts for hiring a new director, and I think he has spent a lot of time and energies on the changes that we need to make. I have not visited with him, but I would first talk to the governor and talk to his new director and see what steps where we need to go. I've had some conversations with Dwight Peterson, who was the former senator before Bo McCoy in Elkhorn, and he has concerns that we have overbuilt maximum security prisons and not enough beds where you would keep prisoners who are not in danger to population. I'm not talking about thugs or people who have used knives or people who are harms, but drug crimes, and whether we really need to keep people who are in for drug abuse crimes in maximum security beds. So I think there's some things we can do to decrease the cost of prison.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Borchers.
Well, sometimes it's good to admit that you're not an expert in things, and I'm certainly not an expert in running corrections. I do believe that Governor Ricketts has made some excellent appointments that I wholeheartedly support. I have agreed with just about every policy that he's come forward with. I'm confident that the executive branch, with the right leadership, and I think they've got the right leadership, will find the right answers. I don't know whether privatization would be the route to go. It has been unsuccessful in some other states. There have been some successes, but I have confidence in Governor Ricketts and his appointees to deal with the problem successfully. And as a member of the legislature, my job will be to support him in that.
Thank you. And Mr. Armbrust.
Well, on the question of privatization, I would be against privatization. I believe that the state of Nebraska has a responsibility to take care of this problem themselves. And I don't think there's any problems that we can't find solutions for. We just have to clear the way to be able to make those choices and make find the solutions to these problems. within the use of our current system. I do believe, though, that we can do a better job of finding other remedies other than incarceration for many of these petty crimes, and I would be in full support and listen to ideas about decriminalizing perhaps very small amounts of marijuana and such things as that, and put those people into a program that doesn't cause them to go down a worse road than they were already on. That would be it.
Thank you. All right, well, that concludes our question portion of the forum, and we're going to move to our closing statements. And for those, we will start, every candidate gets a 1-minute closing statement, and we'll begin with Mr. Borchers.
Well, I'd like to thank you again for the fine forum. I think you can see that we have well-informed candidates and you've got good choices. We have disagreed on some things and agreed on others. I've worked with a lot of different kinds of people. If you're an out-of-the-closet political conservative at a Jesuit university, believe me, you get to work with a lot of different kinds of people. I've made hard decisions. I've managed large budgets. I've run a successful consulting business. I have a varied experience background that I believe will bring a perspective and a knowledge to the legislature that will be very helpful. But I say that without any disparagement of the other two fine people running for the race, but I believe that I am the best choice. Thank you.
Mr. Armbrust.
Well, I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters for this forum and this ability to get our message out to the people. I already made the point that I am the person that's lived in this district and I believe knows this district thoroughly and completely and knows the people of this district, the landscape of it, and the heart and soul of this district. But in addition to that, I feel like I would be able to go down to the legislature as a problem solver and somebody that brings the people together on issues. In that way, the state of Nebraska is a broad state. We have very many cultures and landscapes, and I've learned over the last 40 years not only about my district, but about many parts of this district through my service with several state committees. And also I want to say that I not only talk the language of farm, I talk the language of urban. I'm married to a gal from South Omaha. I've learned through my relationship with her family the issues that are of concern there, and I feel like I can talk to urban senators as well as local senators from the country part of the state and bring those issues together.
And Ms. Linehan.
Again, I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters for hosting this forum this evening. I'm a fifth-generation Nebraskan, and I've been blessed with opportunities to serve our state and this nation. I'm honored to be here tonight and appreciate your interest in the election. If I'm elected, I promise to work hard every day. I'm a social conservative. I'm pro-life. I believe in tough penalties for criminals and the death penalty. I'm a supporter of the Second Amendment. I will fight increases in spending and work tirelessly to reduce the tax burden on Nebraskans. Nebraskans want to grow our economy, and I'll work to grow our economy. I will lower the tax burden on all Nebraskans and keep seniors and the young people in Nebraska. I'm a working mom and a grandmother of 4. I've served Nebraska faithfully both here and in Iraq. What I've done over the last 25 years is not abstract. It's real. Real lives, real decisions, real consequences.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That concludes our closing statements from the candidates, and we're at the end of our forum for Legislative District 39. The League of Women Voters of Greater Omaha would like to thank all the candidates for participating in this forum, and you'll be able to see this forum when we put it on our YouTube channel after it's aired on KPAO. So for the League of Women Voters of Greater Omaha, I'm Jerry Simon, reminding you to inform yourself about the issues of the candidates, and when the primary election day comes, May 10th, go vote Omaha. Hi, I'm Jerry Simon, host of Go Vote Omaha. Election season is upon us, and the primary is May 10th. The League of Women Voters of Greater Omaha has planned 3 live call-in candidate forums. Monday, April 4th, 8 p.m., we'll have the OPPD board candidates. Monday, April 11th, 8 p.m., the MUD board candidates. Monday, April 25th, 8 p.m., the Omaha School Board candidates. Lots of candidates, not much time, so plan your questions and call us. Go vote, Omaha. The League of Women Voters of Greater Omaha is pleased to provide several opportunities for voters to hear from candidates in various primary contests this election season. The primary is on May 10th, and before that time, we will have several candidate forums for you to view. Several of them, in addition to the one that you just saw for Legislative District 39, will also be featuring a forum for Legislative District 13. And we'll also have several live forums that you can watch on KPAO. On Monday, April 11th, 8 p.m., we'll have the MUD Board candidates. And Monday, April 25th at 8 p.m., we'll have the Omaha School Board candidates. And we'll combine several districts where there is a primary and have all the candidates here together at once. Once those forums air, and the legislative one that you saw this evening, any program that we have that airs, you'll be able to view them on our YouTube channel. And all you need to do is go to our league website, and you can link directly from the website to our YouTube channel and watch any of the forums that we've done, any of the previous programs that we've done on Go Vote Omaha, including how to register to vote, how to vote. We have programs on other election issues like redistricting and Medicaid expansion, those kinds of issues. The League of Women Voters is also providing a candidate forum in conjunction with the Omaha Press Club on Thursday, April 21st at 11:30 a.m. There'll be a luncheon and then a forum for the Republican 2nd Congressional District candidates, and the forum will start promptly at noon. Anyone can go to that forum. It's open to the public. All you have to do is call the Press Club and make a reservation, and you certainly can attend that forum. A final few other things. Early voting does start before the May 10th primary, and the first day that you can vote in person at the Election Commission office is Monday, April 11th. The deadline for most voter registration is April 22nd before the primary election, and the deadline for in-person voting at the Election Commission office is Monday, May 9th. So again, for the League of Women Voters of Greater Omaha, I'm Jerry Simon reminding you to inform yourself about the issues and candidates and go vote Omaha.